Hello, everyone. My name is Emily with Rising Stars Football Academy, and welcome back to another installment of Feature Friday, a segment dedicated to featuring different student athletes and coaches and their experiences with our camps and combines. Now, today we are joined by Chris Yonish. Coach Yonish is the current head coach at Shippensburg Area Middle School and has been a guest speaker at Rising Stars Football Academy camps and combines. He teaches these young athletes proper football skills and fundamentals, as well as how to be a good member of their community. We appreciate him taking the time to speak with us today, so thanks for joining us, Chris. How's it going?
Good, thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to dive into your football background and how you actually got involved with coaching. So why did you end up deciding to coach a football team, and what is your background with football?
As far back as I can remember, I was playing sports in our backyard. Like our backyard was a community park, if you will. My dad was involved with Little League and coaching youth football. So I've been around the sports all my life and coaching all my life. It wasn't until like 1981 or 82, my aunt and uncle took me up to Penn State and we lucked out. There was a coaches clinic that day. So we got to go in the stadium. I remember seeing Kurt Warner, Todd Blackledge, Walker Lee Ashley, and Joe Paterno. And the way he walked up and down the sidelines and yelled at kids. And I said, I want to be that guy one day. When I was 18 years old as a senior, our shop teacher was president of Little League, and he asked my friend and I to be a coach. So we coached 13 and 15-year-old teams. And ironically, we lost my dad in the championship that year. So I've just been involved with coaching as long as I can remember. I played in high school, in college a little bit. I was an intramural star there for a while.
And how would you best describe your coaching style? Like, what are the things that you really like to focus on?
It's difficult with middle school kids because you're dealing with kids that are maturing at different levels. So some of them are men, some of them are still little boys, and some of them are somewhere in between and they're not really sure. So you get these kids and they're shot out of a cannon. I like to focus on relationships and family. I guess my coaching style is like 75% democratic and 25 authoritarian. Because you have to, but you also have to be approachable. And these kids are going through so much to begin with at that age. Our freshman kids are moving from the middle school up to the high school. So that's all new to them. It's a lot of just being approachable and just building those relationships with those kids so they can trust you.
And you talk about building the relationships and it being like a family environment. So does that kind of integrate itself into your culture and the values that you try to get your teams to buy into?
The locker room's a blast. The locker room, and unfortunately we didn't get to have one last year because of COVID. I want that to be a safe space for our kids. I want them to come in there and it's like a little maroon line we call. When they step into that locker room, they have nothing to worry about. It's 100% football, 100% family. We're playing music. I never sit in the coach's office. I'm out there talking about what happened last night in sports or whatever. It's our living room. It's our dining room before games sometimes. It's our meeting room. After games, we have a disco ball in there. So, if we're winning, the music's on, that ball's pumping, it's a good time. And when we lose, it's a learning place. We never say anything negative in the locker room. It's always positive. In our practices, we're moving constantly. We get out there. It's about a 2-hour, 15-minute practice. We hardly hit. We do more tackling, the dummy wheels, whatever you want to call them. I don't know the proper name for them. But they do a fantastic job of teaching the kids to tackle. So if we're doing a special teams, the rest of the kids are over there doing a tackling circuit or they're working on their footwork. We're constantly moving the kids around so they keep the interest and we're getting a gazillion reps.
And like you said, you are essentially training these young athletes to prepare them at the next level and at the varsity and high school level. So what are the specific skills or techniques that you really try to focus on so they can take that now and apply them when they go to high school in a couple years?
The biggest thing is getting lined up right. At our level, if you can get lined up right, that's half the battle. And it's just understanding formations, our defensive and offensive formations, but more importantly, just taking a step forward. You'd be surprised how many kids come up and their first step is sideways or backwards. Teaching them the little things with tackling, hand placement. Football's all face, feet, and hands. So we're constantly going over stuff like that. It's just the little things, the little techniques where you put your hands when you're blocking, catching a football, looking at the hole in and tucking it away and patting it on the head. Just all the little things that's going to carry over to the varsity level. So when the varsity gets them, they're not absolutely polished, but they're almost there. They're able to integrate right in. And a lot of our sophomores play right away at the varsity level.
This next question is more talking about weight room. And I know it's a controversial topic, how early should these players be lifting heavy weights? But for your young players, how much of an emphasis do you put on working out in the weight room? And how do you balance the desire for them to get stronger, but still protecting them from doing too much too soon?
Yeah, that's a great question because there's a lot of controversy on that. Our weight room is not only about strength and conditioning and speed. It's where we teach the kids leadership skills. It's where we talk about our values, our core values, and our team rules. It's a place where we get to build those relationships before the season. They get to learn me. So when we go into camp, they know a little bit more about me. But as far as the weight room goes, our kids, again, like I said before, we're dealing with grown men, young men, and boys. We're teaching technique from the word go. So we'll have ninth graders they're mature and they're benching close to 225. And then we have kids that are just using a bar. We introduce them with PVC pipe. We teach them to snatch and jerk with the PVC pipe. And then we graduate up into a 25-pound curl bar and then a 35-pound bar, a 45-pound bar, and they build up from there. The speed concept comes in, and you could start that at any age. And our conditioning on Fridays, we're going to lift and we're going to do something fun at the end of it. So whether that be ultimate football or 7-on-7s or even handball, we'll play in the gym. It's just all about technique and teaching those kids so they can carry it on, because the strength and conditioning doesn't revolve around football. It revolves into basketball, baseball, and the rest of your life if you just want to stay in shape.
And I know it's important, especially at such a young age, for these kids to behave well off the field as well as participating and doing exceptional work on the field. So, what are the off the field expectations that you have for your players, maybe in terms of their behavior, community involvement, or even their academic work?
We do a pretty neat thing. My second year, I wanted to get a lot of excitement around the middle school program. So we do a letter of intent day, and it's almost like the college signing day. I'll contact the midget league and get a list of players that are moving up. We want them to get out there and start recruiting kids. In school too, we'll get announcements. We send out a form that says, hey, we want you to come play football for us. In that, it explains, we call it the path to success. It involves 4 steps. And the first one is academics. We hold our kids to a higher standard than the school district does. Anybody that has a C or lower, those grades, I get to see them. And again, you can't press that too much because not every kid's an A kid. Some kids are C kids that work hard. We have to get to know the teachers and understand where they are academically. So we get those grades, and if that's a C or lower, we're working with them. We have a homework help program set up Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm heavily involved with academics from day one. The same thing is with their behavior. But when a kid will get in trouble in school, he'll text me before I get any call from the school district. Those kids know and they understand what's acceptable and unacceptable in school. And we want them to be leaders in the hallway and in the classroom. So again, it's like the academics. I'm getting reports every day from them. The next thing is community service. We do a lot of community service. This year, we're going to actually build a picnic area for the middle school kids. So as a reward, they can go outside and eat, when it's warm out. And lastly is the expectations on the field. So you look at what we've done so far. We talk about academics, behavior, community service, and now we're getting into football. So our kids, we want them to be as well-rounded, as well-behaved as they can possibly be.
And from your perspective, how important are these attributes in their future recruitment process? Like, should these young athletes be aware of those different aspects and how they can affect them in the future?
You have to tiptoe around this lightly because the last 4 years, it was hard to teach kids to understand that every action is a reaction. We constantly are showing them social media tweet, a post, whatever that an athlete had put up, and a Division I scholarship was pulled from it. We constantly remind them there's people out there that tweeted or did something 20 years ago. They come back to haunt them. There wasn't this technology around when I was a kid, so you could do a lot of dumb things. Now everybody has a phone, and you have to really watch what you're doing because there isn't that community aspect anymore that, people are looking out for one another. They're looking out for themselves. So we try to make sure the kids understand that, like I said before, every action there's a reaction. You've heard of the "What would Jesus do?" My mom's name is Carol, so we always talk about WWCD. What would Carol do? And that was always in the back of my head. Anything I ever did in my life, what would my mom say? Don't do anything detrimental to yourself or your family.
Now, during the pandemic, what were a few things that you and your coaching staff did to engage with your players when the ability to be in a group was essentially stopped? How did you adapt to that situation where things were canceled, seasons were canceled, and how engaged were you with your players?
And thank God for technology again. This first month was horrible because you're used to spending 3 days a week with the kids, in the weight room. Thank God we were able to text, and then the Zoom came along. We all learned the Zoom. So we were Zooming weekly. Eventually, they gave us the green light to hit weight room, I think, in the middle of June. So we would break up, the coach out in the field and a coach in a weight room. They bought into everything with the mask, cleaning, and it was really, really hard. But at the end, I think it made us all better coaches and better players and better kids all around.
Now, can you talk a little bit about your relationship with Rising Stars and maybe Ron specifically?
Ron is an outstanding human being. He's just so warm and generous and passionate. He's passionate about everything he does, whether it's in the gym or out in the field or just talking about anything. He's just a passionate guy, somebody I really look up to, and I have so much respect for him. I'm really proud to call him a friend. I really am.
And you actually decided to send your son to our camps in our previous combine. So, what went into that decision, and why did you think that our camp was going to be the best place for him?
The first time he went to camp, I'm going to say it was 4 or 5 years. It might have been longer than that because everything just runs together when you get old. The first time we went to camp, I met Ron's parents. Where else do you do that in a camp scene? You meet his family, the coaches, and I knew some of them from Shippensburg University. There's some high school coaches. There's former college players. There's college players all coaching there. And every single one of them have been in those shoes, the kids that they're coaching out there. And they understand the anxiety they're feeling the first day. And just the way they welcomed my son, I dare you to show me another camp around the nation. It's like that. Most of the camps and colleges are recruiting tools for them. Those kids that have been there where the young kids have been, and they're teaching them. And you look from the first day to the last day of camp, it's a family. The first day, those kids don't know each other. And the last day, they hate to leave each other. My son really took to it. He loves the camp. Unfortunately, this year, we're going to be away. It's the only week with our team camp. And the way the school starts this year, that's the only week we can get away on vacation. So I know he's bummed about that, but it's something he always looked forward to every year.
And you mentioned it that, during our pro day, we do have a lot of former NFL players, current NFL players, college players come in and they teach football, but they also talk about their life experiences and apart from just, what they do on the field, but what they do in their actual lives and in their community. So I know that that a lot of our guests have been Penn State players and
Right?
they've gone on to have pretty successful careers in the NFL. So what do you think is so special about that relationship that we have with former Penn State players, that a lot of them are actually from the community and the different towns that we host our combines and our camps in?
I've been around the Penn State program all my life. And when Coach O'Brien came, he was a really good guy. But when Coach Franklin came, it seemed to me like it went back to that family, the relationships, building relationships with the high school coaches and the kids around the area. And those kids that you see now that come back, they have that same mentality that Coach Franklin has in that coaching staff. And they just really relate to the kids. I guess in my mind, I think that's a Penn State thing that might happen everywhere else. But in my mind, there's a special group of kids that come back every year and they just relate to the kids. And it goes beyond football, too. Like you said, they talk about their life story. They talk about what happened last week or, what they watched in the NBA that night, whatever's going on in Major League Baseball. It's just a neat experience for those kids.
Now, our student athlete development seminars are also a huge focus for us. So, as someone who coaches middle school athletes, how important are these life lessons at that level?
I think it's very important. I mean, it gives them some type of path to look forward to. You model your life after a lot of these guys, and that's a good deal. Those are very successful people. I can't say enough about what Ron is doing with his programs. And he's come in and talked to our kids a couple of times about his life story, which that's truly inspiring as well. It's just fantastic stuff for the kids. And those kids that know that they want to be good football players and good people, they eat that stuff up and they're going to go stand in line no matter where it is or find it online to do it.
Now, I got one more question for you. So, to end these things, we like to end on a positive or inspirational note. So, can you share one piece of advice for any junior high or high school football player?
We have a saying in our bathroom. When you walk in first thing in the morning, there's a saying on the wall that says, in a world that you can be anything, be yourself. And that's all you can do. And I try to tell our kids to do that every day, remind them of that.
Well, I'd like to thank you for speaking with me today and sharing your football and coaching experience. So, I think our viewers will appreciate your perspective, not only as a coach, but also as a father whose son attends our camps and our combine. So, thanks again and have a nice night.
Thank you. I appreciate it.